This corpse was made for walking, so that's just what he'll do. Also 1 Cemetery Reaper, and we also have 4 Despise in the main deck to go along with, actually this deck's pretty different, 4 Guest Verdicts and 4 Pillar of Flames to go along with his Brimstone Volleys, and he has 1 Mortipod. You're not going to find any Falcon Wrath Aristocrats here. It's a pretty different take on Black Red Zombies, but he is pretty, he's pretty confident in his choices, and he has been for the past couple weeks. He thinks that people are building their Black Red Zombies deck list wrong, even though that deck has been winning a lot of events recently. So we'll see which way is the better way to go. Is Patrick right, or are the masses correct?
So what do you think of him having Stone Cold 0 Gemstone Caverns in there? Or
Cavern of Souls?
Yeah, Cavern of Souls.
I'm a little interested. It's kind of a surprise. I mean, he can cast all of his spells, of course, but them being uncounterable, like having a Gross Messenger be uncounterable is a pretty big deal. And he has 14 swamps and then 4 of the 8 producing black-red lands, and no caverns, and they typically play 3. So it'll be interesting to see if that kind of comes back to bite him.
So on the other side, Adam Gallacher is playing kind of an interesting, kind of an exotic Boros deck. It's a much bigger Boros deck than we usually see. He's got Knight of Glory, Mirran Crusader, Silverblade Paladin, Blade Splicer, Zealous Conscript, and Sublime Archangel, plus Ajani Color of the Pride. As Ajani Color of Pride with Sublime Archangel can lead to a 20-power double striker, or with Silverblade Paladin and Sublime Archangel can lead to a 20-power first striker, or double striker on the 5th or 6th turn.
That's a pretty big game. As we see Patrick coming in here with Diagraphical, we'll see if he has a follow-up. There it is. There's our first walking corpse of the day.
The natural, perfect curve.
I like how he turns it to have him read it, even though there's no text. So a good start for Patrick with Black Red Zombies. We're going to see if Adam can keep up. He did start with just one, the Cathedral. Is he playing multiple of those?
Yeah, he's got 2 of the Cathedral Wars. It's all about making the double striker. He's got 8 ways to get double strike.
Okay.
So he just wants to pump one guy's power as much as possible. Actually, he's even got the 4 Mirran Crusaders too. So he's got 12 different instances of double strike in his deck. And then he's got he's got something like 10 Exalted cards plus Sword of War and Peace. So he's got a variety of ways to pump his double strikers.
This is kind of a tough spot for Patrick too, because there are 8 pro black creatures in Adam's deck, but Patrick's making it look relatively easy at this point, as he's gone, pretty much his perfect start as far as just using mana as well as like just the best cards that he can play.
Yeah, plus, I mean, he does have 12 answers to the pro black creatures, just the combination of Guest Verdict and all the red removal. But without any red mana in play, this could be a complete brick wall if Sullivan doesn't have a Guest Verdict.
So we're going to see what Pat can do as he untaps. He's going to draw a card. I mean, Adam is already at 12, so he's definitely under the gun. And you can look at Pat's hand. You see a Dross Messenger. I see a Brimstone Volley, a Walking Corpse, and now a Fume Spitter. So he doesn't have the red mana.
So this is enough. You just swing with everybody here, right? Just keep the pressure going and then drop another Messenger, right?
Yeah, I can't imagine not just holding back. I don't think that's going to do him any good. I mean, conceivably, he attacks with all. What do you think he's blocking with the Mirran Crusader? Just one of the non-messenger guys?
Yeah, I was going to say, if he blocks the Messenger, he's dead instantly. Like, he's dead, he'll be dead next turn. So, it's probably got to be Walking Corpse.
We didn't think we'd see Mirran Crusader blocking Walking Corpse today. But anything can happen on live television. And the Walking Corpse is going to bite it. It's going to put Adam down to 7, and then we're likely going to see a Dross Messenger and a Fume Spitter post-combat.
Yeah, so I think Patrick Sullivan's in a commanding position here. Because, I mean, Adam, his only sweepers are 2 Bonfires, and he doesn't even have red mana yet. And at this point, his life total is so low. He really just needs to, I mean, he needs a board presence like a Blade Splicer or something right now, just to give him enough blockers to try to live long enough to drop a Sword of War piece, connect, and gain enough life to not be dead.
And that's exactly what he has. He does have the Blade Splicer that you just mentioned.
Does he have a 4th land?
That's a good question.
Oh, it looks like he does not. Whew. This is a real tough spot for Adam. I think Patrick Sullivan's all but got this one in the bag, which is, kind of interesting considering he can hardly present any more damage. But the key is the 2 Messengers are both going to have to die eventually, and they're going to knock Adam to 1. And that Fume Spitter is going to be able to reset the Messenger by getting rid of the counter, which is a guaranteed 2 more.
And we're going. It looks like he's going to be playing one of his Fume Spitters. He's going to take care of the Blade Splicer, and this is probably just going to be attacked with all the boys.
Absolutely. Force through 2 damage.
And here they all come. I don't think any good blocks exist here for Adam. You can't correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there are any good blocks here that are going to leave him alive.
Nope.
If he blocks both the Messengers, he's going to take 6. If he lets He can,
yeah, if he lets the messenger
Messenger
through and kills one messenger, no, he's just dead on the spot.
5.
Sullivan naturally knows the even better play. And this is turn 5 kill from Patrick Sullivan.
Good draw, even with no red mana. Still quite the draw here from Pat.
So, what does Sullivan have in the sideboard?
Let's see if it's going to finish it really quick. Okay. Yep, they're just going through the motions here. So it looks like... I love the hand waving. There's a lot of hand waving. Okay, there we go. All right. So Patrick Sullivan is going to be up a game here. And taking a look at Pat's sideboard, we're going to find 2 Vampire Nighthawks, which could be of some use, 2 Arc Trails, which are likely going to come in here, especially because he's seen Mirran Crusader. I see 2 Dismembers. Don't think he's going to bring those in. 2 Gut Shots, 2 Distress, and 2 Skirkdags High Priest. Looking this over, I mean, I feel like the Arc Trails are a pretty good lock. I feel like Vampire Nighthawk having flying is going to make that a pretty easy one to board into. There's a potential for a race situation here with the double strikers and protection from black, where you're going to want Nighthawk.
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if 2 Arc Trails coming in for like Mortar Pot and Cemetery Reaper might be the only change.
Okay.
I'm not even sure. I don't think he's going to want to slow down his deck too much, and I think he's got to try to figure out, like, what is Adam up to? He didn't actually even see the red mana. All he saw was a Plains, a Cavern of Souls, and the Exalted Land.
Okay.
So I think he's going to want to be real conservative and not sideboard very many cards. Just stay fast, stick with what worked. I mean, obviously he came out quick that game, but depending on what he sees out of Adam, I know he's going to be considering that Torpor Orb, with cards like Blade Splicer, and he doesn't know, but, he's going to be looking for cards like Restoration Angel or anything else where that comes into playability.
Okay. I can definitely see that. I mean, I don't know if anything changes with Pat being on the draw this game, but, I mean, Arc Trails are the easiest cards to start with.
For sure. They're going to be A+.
And then we can decide elsewhere.
Adam, on the other hand, he's jumping to the 3 Celestial Purges he has. Beyond that, I mean, he's got kind of an interesting sideboard. It's got 7 Graveyard Hate cards. I don't know if he'd actually want any of them, but the Grafdigger's Cage does stop the Messenger and the Gravecrawler from coming back.
I can see possibly, he has 3 in the sideboard. I don't think he's going to want all 3.
By having some amount of that early on,
I don't think he's going to want all 3, but I mean maybe 1 or 2 if he has anything potentially to sideboard out.
He needs to speed his deck up a little bit, and it's something that he can play out early so that when he starts throwing out his blockers, they're more relevant. I think he's probably got to bring in the cages.
Now we're looking at the deck list right now. I see 4 Zealous Conscripts not really at its best in this particular matchup.
Yes.
Do you think he's just going to want to move those out and then possibly like the 2 Bonfire of the Dams? That's an easy 6?
I think he needs the Bonfire just as a sweeper to try to catch him up.
Okay.
Particularly if he can play out enough guys that he actually can hold off the attack.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the 4 Zealous Conscripts are the first to go, but beyond that, yeah, I mean, maybe 1 Ajani, Caller of the Pride, just because it's not defensive.
Okay.
And then just bring in a couple of cages and 3 purges.
Okay.
But
because the rest of his cards in the sideboard don't really have much of an impact in the matchup. It'll be interesting because, like, looking at his deck list, his deck doesn't really get started until turn 3. He does have 4 Night of Glories, but then nothing else that costs 2 mana or 1 mana in his deck. So being on the play for him is a pretty big deal. And having a Night of Glory, Night of Glory having protection from black, obviously huge in this matchup, but much better on the play than on the draw, so he can get his attacks going right away.
Yeah, well, I think he's going to end up, wanting to play out the creatures early is super important, but I think he's going to end up having to be the control deck. I mean, as you said, he's almost entirely a turn 3 deck. He's got 23 3-drops and only 4 plays before the 3rd turn. So I think even with the sideboarding in of the purges and maybe cages, I still think this is going to be a real tough match for Adam.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I mean, the thing about Adam's deck also is that the 3-drops that he does have in his deck are very high impact cards against Patrick's deck. Crusader is a big game against him. Blade Splicer also like a really big deal against him. Even Oblivion Ring, taking care of something. All those cards are very, very good against him. Patrick's going to have to kind of get underneath that and kind of create a presence, and then hopefully
Walking Corpsing.
Yeah. Walking Corpse is a good way to start the show. And then when he plays his Mirran Crusader or his Night of Glory, have a Guest Verdict for it, be able to keep attacking. Because one thing that zombies cannot do is play the defensive.
No.
Whatsoever. So it's going to be interesting to see. It's interesting because I would feel like Adam's deck is relatively favored here because he does have 8 protection from black guys. But Patrick's zombie deck is so much different than a typical zombies deck. You know, they aren't playing Guess Verdict anymore. They're not playing a card like Despise, Pillar Flame, and Patrick has access to all those cards in his deck. So those cards aren't really game over for him like they normally would be for other zombies decks.
So Adam's starting it off. Basic Plains. Doesn't want to tip his hand yet about the red mana.
And Patrick is going to start with a Gravecrawler, and he actually does have red mana this game, so that is a big deal for his Arc Trails, for his Pillars, and for his Brimstone Volleys.
What do you think of Patrick not playing Falcon Wrath Aristocrat?
He was relatively against it. Just like, he understands that it's a good card, but he just doesn't think that that's the direction that zombies could be going in. But that's the one card of the cards that are pretty standard in zombies that he kind of misses not playing.
So it looks like he just drew a Skursdag Priest.
We're going to, as we see a Despise here.
And Surgical Extraction did get boarded in. But yeah, Patrick did board in Skursdag High Priest, anticipating kind of a grindy game.
How do you feel about that?
Oh, I could totally see it, and I just like more threats. You know, if I'm Patrick, the one thing I don't want to do is become too reactive. You know, like it's not clear if Vampire Nighthawk is the best, or if the Skursdag High Priest is the best, or which of those. But at least they're threats. You know, and
sure.
as long as he stays threat heavy and fast,
kind of gives him a different angle of attack too, which is kind of interesting. As we're going to see Despise take a Johnny Caller of the Pride. Celestial Purge.
Patrick's stuck on one.
Ooh, he is.
Well, I mean, that is exactly what Adam wants to see. He's got the turn 2 pro-black creature, just like you said, keyed in the matchup, and then obviously Patrick stumbling on mana.
And he also has the Celestial Purge in his hand for, you know, the first kind of relevant card or card he cares about from Patrick. Even that Skursdag High Priest is now going to be basically solved if he wants it to be solved.
He's probably just going to. Do you think he purges the Gravecrawler here? Just because, I mean, it is a good target, but he's got that Surgical that he might just want to try to get some value out of. I don't know.
I think at this point, you know, he's not really under enough pressure to kind of want him to do that. I mean, he could just be like, yeah, well, you know, I'm just going to cast this Purge on this Gravecrawler, and then I'm going to play Sublime Archangel next turn. Might as well just use my mana when I can, as we are going to see the Purge here. See if Patrick...
Very gutsy, not fearing tragic slip in the slightest. I actually think Patrick's a big favorite in this game. Even though he's mana screwed, the thing is, mana screw beats mana flood, and Adam's not strictly mana flooded, but he does have a lot of irrelevant things going on. If he doesn't drop a threat and start, you know, putting enough pressure on Patrick, you know, taking advantage of these early turns, as soon as Patrick draws one more land, he's got so many cards he can play.
Yeah, it's a completely different game.
Yes. So Adam, the thing is though, Adam's deck is capable of winning out of nowhere real quick.
As we do see Sublime Archangel here, and he has finally drawn a Swamp. We'll see if he has a Guess Verdict hiding out, or... Okay.
He does. As it is revealed to us why he chose Ajani instead of the Sublime Archangel.
Indeed.
And that Archangel was a huge part of Adam's plan here, because it has the capability of killing Patrick in just a couple turns, particularly if he gets some double strike action going.
Well, now it's Adam's job to draw a threat, and if he's playing 2 mana, it's going to be another Night of Glory, so there's that. And now his hand is just hiding out with a Surgical Extraction and what looks to be...
An O-Ring.
An Oblivion Ring, okay.
Not a great hand in this position, too reactive, and Patrick's going to just play the control game. Patrick's hand full of things like Guess Verdicts and Arc Trails and so on. He can wait, play the long game, and then start dropping his threats, because he knows that Adam's hand is just pure reaction anyway. And if the game goes a little bit longer, it's like he's up several cards because Adam has all these extra land and Surgical Extraction, whereas Patrick just, you know, has a fistful of action.
We're going to see a Skursdag High Priest from Patrick, passing it back to Adam. Adam is going to draw a Plains, so he is flooding out a little bit here. And then, as you said, the Surgical Extraction is basically another land / type mulligan. I mean, it can potentially have some effect, but it's certainly not having one right now.
Yeah, Patrick with the Arc Trail in his hand, but the discipline to wait. He wants to see if there's any chance he can sneak a 2-for-1.
Especially if you see a Mirran Crusader come down, that's a brutal 2-for-1 with the Arc Trail. So it looks like...
And Brimstone Volley. Another burn spell. Patrick Sullivan, no stranger to the burn spells. Still stuck on 2, but Patrick Sullivan's been stuck on 2 in about 60% of the games he's ever played.
Is he going to pull the trigger on this Arc Trail?
He is.
So 2 upstairs and 1 to the knight.
He wanted to give Adam one more turn to see if he could get the free roll, but decides, all right, it's time to get the show on the road.
And we're going to come across for 1 with the High Priest.
The mediocre beats begin.
And we do know that Patrick has a Brimstone Volley and another Archer hiding out in his hand, and what are likely to be at least 1 Neural's Messenger. As we are going to see Silverblade Paladin. And it looks like Adam is kind of giving a little look to the graveyard now. A little bit of a tell that he does have the Surgical Extraction. Patrick does find his 3rd land. Looks like it's going to be a draw step Surgical Extraction, potentially.
Oh, Patrick's like, all right, I'm giving you priority.
Yeah,
he wants to commit. He's like, are you going to do it?
Posturing for position. I like it. We're not going to Surgical him just yet. We will see what Patrick is going to decide.
Yeah, you can always just respond to the zombie.
Yeah.
I think Patrick Sullivan's just trying to figure out how to get Adam to shock himself.
Yeah.
That's all he wants in life is for somebody to shock themselves.
Free 2? Where do I sign up? Now we
Patrick
do know
Sullivan with another burn spell.
We do know that there is a Diagraph Pool also hanging out in Patrick's hand. So at this point, he's just trying to craft the game plan. You know, it looks like, you know, he might be a little frustrated with himself that he did cast the Archer last turn. You know, he showed the discipline the prior turn.
I think it's just a ruse. I think it's all misdirection on Patrick's part. He's trying to make Adam think that's what's important, you know?
Okay.
But I like that Patrick's playing the conservative game here. Instead of trying to do anything too fancy, he just wants to keep his life total up high enough. I mean, once the guy shows you the Soulbound Paladin and the Sublime Archangel, you've already seen the guy is capable of doing some serious hits out of nowhere. Just protect your life total a little bit, you know?
We are going to see a Diagraph Pool post-combat from Patrick. Passing it back to Adam. 15-14, Adam is ahead right now in life, but really not much else. As we're going to see.
Big payoff. If Patrick would have tried to hold the Arc Trail, this could have been real devastating for him.
Absolute disaster. So he's picking his spots well. And, you know, he does have a decent chunk of removal, as we do see a Pillar of Flame.
Did he? Wow, he didn't Surgical the Gravecrawler. Now Patrick has priority.
Oh, well, the Gravecrawler is removed from the Celestial Purge.
Oh, it's so yeah, it's removed. Okay.
So now Patrick deciding.
The mediocre beats continue.
Can't stop, won't stop. And for 3.
So is that 3 burn spells in 1 creature, or what is the black card at hand?
I believe the black card is Guest Verdict in his hand. So I believe his hand right now is
burn spells.
Brimstone Volley, Pillar of Flame, Guest Verdict, and then a mystery card. But I believe it is just 4 removal spells.
This is exactly the kind of game Patrick likes to play. Put out a couple of cheap little beaters, and then just keep clearing the path with his removal.
As we see.
Now this game is hardly locked up. It only takes 1 big threat, put a Sword of War and Peace on it, and Peace Sully's in real trouble if he doesn't have a Guest Verdict.
Yeah, and the game is just drastically different. As we are going to see an Oblivion Ring. Finally, the trigger is pulled, removing the Diagraph Pool. So it is just going to be Skirkdag High Priest against the world at this point. All right, Brimstone Volley's moving upstairs. Just a 3-pointer. It's not going to be a 5er.
Sullivan trying to get Adam's life total down a little bit to try to make sure he doesn't get stuck behind a Sword of War and Peace, you know? Where he's like bottlenecked with cards in his hand he can't cast.
Yeah.
And his opponent's gaining so much life from Sword of War and Peace that he can't win the race.
As we see a Gravecrawler here. You know, Patrick really, you know, he wants to end this game in a relatively timely fashion. Doesn't want to give Adam the opportunity. Yeah, doesn't want to give Adam the opportunity to catch up. And he's doing a relatively nice job of that, as we are going to see Mirran Crusader.
Now the moment of truth. Does Patrick actually have the Guest Verdict? Oh, he does.
Looks like he does, yeah.
So the Guest Verdict here knocks Adam to 6. The attack phase will put him at 3.
And then we know he has a Pillar
of Flame. He has another Brimstone Volley. So this is going to be all she wrote. So
And bingo.
not quite as fast as the first game, but Patrick making quick work of Adam Gallacher, and with his Boros mid-range deck.
So Patrick Sullivan is going to win 2-0 with his his take on Black Red Zombies. Much different direction of his version than typical versions, but he felt strongly about it, and so far, it looks like he may be correct.